Andy Dalton at the quarterback spot. We talked about him with Dak Prescott now out for the season. Chase Edmonds, Alexander Madison, a couple of running backs you might want to keep an eye on. Of course, Chase Claypool will be a popular name after his 4-touchdown game on Sunday. Travis Fulgham put a really big game for the Eagles. He is going to be, I think, a coveted guy on the waiver wire, especially in deeper leagues. Henry Ruggs had a couple of long catches against the Chiefs, and we're starting to remember why the Raiders drafted him so highly. And then Cedric Wilson, who the last couple of weeks is starting to get some run in that Cowboy offense. It might be a little bit crowded, but I think if you're in a deep league where you need some help at the wide receiver position, Cedric Wilson is kind of a low priority waiver guy to keep an eye on. But let's talk a little bit about Alexander Madison, because Dalvin Cook was injured in the Sunday night game against the Seahawks, had a groin injury. We're still waiting further information on how serious that might be, but Madison came in, played very well, and I would think that this is a week where people are going to need running backs. Alexander Madison, I would imagine, is going to be a very popular name for folks.
He's going to be a huge popular name, and he's actually going to be one of my top priorities on the waiver wire this week. He had 20 rushing attempts, 112 rushing yards. And yes, I understand that he got a lot of those opportunities because Dalvin Cook went on the sideline with an injury. Even though he did return to the game, he wasn't as productive as Madison was. Now, we have to realize Madison was also good last season. Okay, like he was good last season. He's also a really good running back this season. So even if Dalvin Cook is healthy all season and he continues to play, I think that because the running back position is spread so thin this season with injuries, bye weeks, canceled, postponed games, you need to make sure that you have really good handcuffs. And I think Alexander Madison is a handcuff player that you should absolutely pick up and look to target on the waiver wire, especially as they go up next week against the Atlanta Falcons, who have not been so hot, as we all know.
Why wouldn't you want to have Lin-Manuel Miranda's favorite running back, Alexander Madison, on your roster? When we were talking during the preseason about needing to expand your fantasy rosters because of COVID and that sort of thing, Alexander Madison's name kept coming up as one of the prime examples. If you draft Dalvin Cook, if you have a deep enough roster, you want to go get Alexander Madison. Now, he's available, shockingly, in about 90% of NFL.com leagues. So I don't know if it's just that people had short benches and couldn't afford to hold the roster spot for a guy who wasn't getting consistent touches. But Alexander Madison should be on a lot of rosters, and especially if Dalvin Cook has to miss time, he's going to be a very popular ad coming up this week. So I think that's certainly a name to keep in mind. But it might be worth, if you have the roster space, of just hanging on to him and seeing whether or not he ends up getting a larger role down the line. We know they love Dalvin Cook, but at some point they may also want to look to sort of give him a break every once in a while. And that could mean Madison ends up getting on the field and getting some touches for the Vikings. Another running back name that is going to be important is Chase Edmonds. And this, Kimmi, is more than just an injury thing. Kenyon Drake is still healthy. He's just not playing well. And Chase Edmonds is outplaying him. I'm really starting to think that I might want to get Chase Edmonds, and maybe if the situation's right, consider him as a flex, because that just seems to be what it is right now in Arizona.
It is what it is. It's so funny. When Chase Edmonds had his touchdown yesterday, our producer Hytham texted me because we were talking on Sunday's show about Chase Edmonds and Kenyon Drake and what is going on. And the second he scored, Hytham was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? And I really think it means that Chase Edmonds enters the conversation as someone who, like you said, should possibly be started in a flex spot on a week-to-week basis. He had 3 rushing attempts for 36 yards. He had one 29-yard beautiful touchdown, as well as 5 catches for 56 yards against the New York Jets. Now, Kenyon Drake on the other side of that ball, or not on the other side, another guy in that offense, he had 18 rushing attempts, 60 yards, and he finally got in the end zone. Now, Cliff Kingsbury said in the post-game pressure, he said nothing but good things about Chase Edmonds, which continues to show me that I want to think that they're going to continue to use him in this offense. They said not only can he run the ball, but he also has really good pass-catching ability. With Kenyon Drake kind of fading out, I think that Chase Edmonds enters the conversation and should be a guy who we should target to start on a week-to-week basis.
I've noticed that the disparity in snaps between the two of them is getting smaller steadily by the week. And I went back and watched that Cardinals-Jets game late last night, and there was just a difference between the two guys. And Kenyon Drake looked hesitant trying to get to the hole. He just was sort of stutter-stepping, didn't look decisive. Chase Edmonds was a lot more decisive, find the hole and go. And at some point, I know the Cardinals really want to get Kenyon Drake going, but it just doesn't seem to be working. And I just wonder how long they're going to continue to give Kenyon Drake so many snaps and so many touches when Chase Edmonds continues to be productive. At the very least, though, in a week where look, we've got a lot of buys coming up, right? And we've got a lot of key buys. I think the Saints are off, the Seahawks are off, the Chargers are off. There are going to be, I think the Raiders are off. So that means you're looking at some serious fantasy running backs, right? I mean, that means no Kamara, no Josh Jacobs, no Joshua Kelly, no Chris Carson. People are going to be in need of running backs this week. So Chase Edmonds, I think, is going to end up being a very, very popular name. So you mentioned you might make Alexander Madison one of your top priorities. Would he be your number one, or is there another guy that you might put above him?
You know what? No, I think he's absolutely going to be my number one because we actually don't know what's happening with Dalvin Cook. We understand that news will probably come out later today, or at least by midweek to understand for, the next Sunday's matchup, if he is healthy and if he is a go or not. Even if he is healthy, I do think, like you said, Alexander Madison is such a good handcuff. And the fact that he's not owned in 90% of NFL.com leagues goes to show that a lot of people are kind of flying under the radar on this guy. So I want to go try to target him and get him, and hopefully he lifts me up to fantasy gold.
Absolutely using my top waiver priority if I have it on Alexander Madison. Chase Edmonds would probably be right behind him just because, again, this is going to be, I think, a tough week for people when it comes to running backs. And they're going to need some running back help. Chase Claypool will be a close third, and hoping that he keeps some of that target share with the Steelers offense. Is there anybody that we didn't name on this list that maybe you have an eye on? I went through, I thought it's sort of not a great week for waiver wire targets, but I don't know if there's somebody you feel like we have to mention that we didn't.
No, I mean, I think the list is really comprehensive this week. It's so hard because, like you said, there are so many different bye weeks happening that even if there is a guy that you wanted to target on the waiver wire, you look and say, oh, well, he has a bye week and then they have a really tough matchup. So it's really hard. So I think this list is good. And I, right after we're done, I want to go and head to the waiver wire and really start making some claims because I need to make sure that I'm getting in a position. We're getting to a point in the fantasy football season where, you could lose your chance of going to the playoffs if you have not been winning your matchups on a week-to-week basis. So I want to be locked and loaded so I can beat you and I can beat Adam Rank and I can beat all you other cats and then brag all off season long.